Hooray! So welcome everyone back to the Champion Forge, where we create champions with the help of you, our lovely audience. So today, Custex is unable to make it along, so we thought we'd use this time constructively to have a discussion about music and sort of League of Legends champion design in general. Of course, with a lot of talk around that area at the moment, we thought there might be, might be some interesting veins of game design to be mined there. But yeah, so Happy joining me today. Happy, I hope that your mind is filled up with musical notes, and also possibly that sick theme song we did earlier on for today. It was pretty great. If you like, but it was Mike. Righto, Mike! Oh. He's a bicycle with a bicycle and he's riding down the stairs. That's... if you ask me, dog. That's right. We didn't plan it before we started. So, okay, so if we're going to talk about sort of using music as a kind of design, sort of to drive the design behind... oh no, we just lost our viewers because of that rap, never mind. So if we're going to be using sort of music behind sort of the game design part of things... hey Shinsuke, how's it going? So, for you, Happy, like, what kind of stuff would feel to you like it was specifically music related, rather than just being sort of music themed? Well, I suppose, yeah, I mean, that's... Seraphine definitely is the elephant in the room in that she sort of nominally has stuff that, has to do with music, but like it's more like a theme sort of laid onto her kit rather than necessarily what the kit is actually about. So I'm hoping we can figure out some way to get some interesting ideas in that kind of direction. So Shinsuke... oh, so Shinsuke, do you know Seraphine? Saying the sound of her is not heard. It sounds like they actually are familiar with the current design of the champion. I haven't... this is terrible to say, but the... with Seraphine... what I was really expecting looking with her was something along the lines of the DJ Sona, in that you'd have like a sort of a song that would develop and change as you did different things. But that doesn't seem to actually be the case. Hmm. Hmm. Yes, and it's like, that's... So, okay, so if we're going to try and hit up the sort of the broad ideas of what kind of things that we want to be in there, if we're saying that that doesn't feel like enough, what kind of thing would maybe feel like enough? I know, it's a hard question, because, you know, it's not exactly something... Well, actually, I'll tell you what, so let's go back to... So, Sona, you know, people have obviously criticized Seraphine for being very similar to Sona in a lot of respects. I mean, it's definitely very, very close to, and... but at the moment, I'm trying to think, is there any other champion apart from Sona who sort of is an example of a music-using character? Yes, because I really like that idea of something we could develop. So Bard builds up chimes, sort of the music and effect grows. I can... So with the Seraphine kind of design as it stands, I was sort of expecting that to be more in that kind of area, where it would be like, you know, I mean, like as in sort of an effect that would build up over time, like certain categories would make it kind of be a kind of a swelling orchestra or something. Okay. Well, let's try, I just want to try and get in as much sort of broad stuff before we start getting into like specific like mechanical effects. But I really like the kind of the orchestra idea and the kind of the growing of the sound. Are there any other kind of directions you can think of in terms of stuff that would seem like it was specifically musical? Because yeah, that's the Elite Beat Agent style thing where you kind of connect together. Okay, maybe my example's a little bit out of date, but it's not that old, surely? Wait, what? What are you talking about? It was... Okay, it's from 2006, so it is a little bit old. I wasn't alive! Okay, so Osu's mechanics of, like, yeah, I think Osu mechanics could be really fun and would make sense with being a well-regarded and heavily associated with music game. So that's definitely, I like that idea a lot. Okay. I think, like... I think you could... There probably is a lot of interesting mechanical stuff you could do with Osu-style mechanics there, in terms of... I can really imagine a thing where you choose... Like, you've got, like, two allies near to each other, and that you sweep a thing between them to get an effect that kind of creates... Like, that heals both of them or something, or does something in that line. So, I think that's a neat idea, because of connecting 2 points, or 2 plus points in space. It's a weird idea, but I think there's a lot of potential there. You mentioned for Seraphine there was the whole thing of your teammates being able to kind of join in with the music. Like, do you think... Hmm. Hmm. Let's quickly take a diversion into going through what Seraphine's abilities are, because I realised that the okay, let's see. Yes, it's a straight line, so it is like a Sunneralt, but with an extension mechanic as well. I can understand why it was done that way, of it just being a line. Oh! Wait, oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. Okay, now you should be able to. I'm really sorry about that.
Hello?
Yeah.
Is it me you're looking for?
Oh boy, how embarrassing. Alright, tell you what, I'm gonna
Oh man, I was saying so many smart things! What the frick?
Oh my gosh,
Nice.
sorry, OBS is just such a jerk, and it just drops devices, and we're in a rush starting up, so I didn't check it properly. And every time I do that, it doesn't work, so I should probably just do it every time. Alright, in that case, I'm just going to do a quick restart on the recording, just so we've got a clean start. Ahem! Hello everyone, and welcome to the Champion Forge Season 2, Episode 8. My name is kind of a bit long with Happy Light Sense. We've had to do a quick restart because of some sound problems before, but we'll kind of catch you guys up as to what we've been doing, which is that we are talking about using music as a game design element for a League of Legends, for League of Legends champion design, because obviously people have been talking about Seraphine and maybe not seeing quite the kind of things they're maybe expecting to see. But I also kind of feel like maybe people, and I think this is true for us as well, don't necessarily know what it is they would be hoping to see from a music-based champion.
Yeah, I think people are generally more willing to jump on the hate bandwagon without really offering a solution to the problem. And I'm also not really sure if it is a problem. Like, sure, Seraphine is like a Sona copy. Like, she really is. But she's also... I suppose she's gonna be played a bit different. And we were talking about that just now when we realized that we had sound issues.
Ironic.
Yeah, it's about her and her abilities interacting with her teammates.
Well, so let's go through quickly and just recap what Seraphine's abilities are. So we're not trying to redesign Seraphine by any means, but just like to talk about what they did with her to try and sort of bring the music in. So every third basic ability she casts will echo, casting a second time, which is the more relevant part is whenever she casts an ability near an ally, she creates a note, and each note gives her basic attacks more range and deal additional damage consuming the note. So the ally doesn't actually benefit from having the note on them, but she benefits from being near the ally because it makes her basic attacks better. It basically kind of gives her a sheen with extended range. Her Q doesn't have anything to do with teammates. The W is the AoE shield. And it's basically just a Sonar W. With a few extra wrinkles. The E doesn't really have anything to do with it. And the Encore is the one that's extended by how many people it hits. So it looks like broadly she's got like one primary ability that sort of interacts with allies. Her passive, which is more like she kind of is just, it's almost like a sort of a hard restrict kind of idea where you have to be near your, like she's kind of tied to being a support, I suppose. That she has to be near someone in order to get her full potential damage. And that her ult sort of relies somewhat on having teammates be in position to set it up for you as well. But so having gone through Seraphine's kit, from the stuff which we've been talking about already, in terms of what you'd like to see conceptually from a music champion, what stuff are you feeling like she does hit and doesn't hit?
She hits the musical sound effects, for sure.
That's true.
I would be really sad if that wasn't the case. Also, I don't know, I think that making a music champion a support is really really easy. It's really natural, maybe, because music is, I don't know how to explain that. It's like I'm thinking of background music here mainly, and how it's used to support storylines in movies and in TV series and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
And also, there are a bunch of studies about how using music when you study is helpful because it sort of activates your brain in a way that makes it easier for it to store information or whatever. So it does feel natural for music to play a sort of supporting role in the game that is League of Legends. And by making it a support champion, or like personifying music as a support champion, it just sort of brings it all together.
Yeah, I think I can get with that. Like, I think it's very hard to have. Well, I suppose that's the thing. Like the support position, and I suppose to an extent the bot laner position, and it's harder to kind of like I think really sort of tie someone to a bot lane position because I don't think they've done that yet. I don't think there's any AD I can think of that is strictly unplayable outside of the bottom lane, like in terms of how mechanically like needing to have another champion there. Whereas for supports, that's actually kind of somewhat common.
Most of the AP supports go elsewhere.
I suppose we've had top lane Lulu, mid lane Lulu, top lane Soraka.
We also had top lane Karma and top lane Lulu.
I suppose that's true.
Like lots of the enchanter supports can just go anywhere because you can build so much AP on them. But I don't know, I suppose it's harder to put AD carries in different positions. But it has definitely been done.
Okay, I realized I probably was taking us off the point there. But I suppose where we're kind of going is that if we're going to kind of build in teammate-based mechanics, then a lot of the time that's going to be someone who's at least intended for a support position.
That's fair.
I did occur to me when you were talking about the whole sort of backing music thing, is that sometimes the music can be a main character in something, in terms of like you can have scenes where the music sort of dictates how you're supposed to feel about a given event, or what
Oh,
you're
but
seeing on
that's
screen?
just um the way you just phrased that sort of course it makes it seem more like the music is the main character, but the fact that we can use music to make us feel certain ways isn't due to the fact that it has some sort of agency in um, like the media that we're consuming at that given moment, but more so because we have been conditioned to expect certain actions when we hear certain sounds. And maybe we could implement that as a fun mechanic.
Okay, I'm not quite sure what you mean, but I'm intrigued by it.
Nice, cool, fun.
Well, so what I was thinking was, with the I love the conditioning stuff, like, oh my gosh, like I was thinking of the feel certain way. This theoretical music champion should 100% have specific ping,
Yes, ping sounds.
special ping sounds, which are like maybe part of. I really like the idea of trying to build up a champion, which is like a kind of a sort of like the DJ Sono stuff. Like it's a melody that has different parts, and like you kind of emphasize and de-emphasize certain parts of it, and kind of. I mean, I think if Aphelios can have 5 different weapons or whatever, and you have to learn what all of them are, I think you can get away with having a song that kind of like has different parts that you need to. I think
memorize.
Yeah, or at least you need to sort of be aware of. Well, the thing I was thinking was that what about the idea of a support champion who does supportive things, but if they do those supportive things enough, they then get their kind of like. They are able to build themselves up to be quite individually powerful.
That sounds interesting, and like it could be very OP in very long games.
Yeah, well, but it relies on you doing the stuff which is, playing with the team, like healing up people or kind of buffing in some way, so you don't have that power all the time. But like, it could be like an old friend, the Rage Bar, that kind of like builds up, and then you have a period of time where you're very individually powerful.
It could be another one of those sort of stories where the character is sort of like a novice musician, and as they progress through the game, they get better at the instrument that they're playing or the music that they're singing, and then in the end, when they have like full stacks or full build or whatever, they're just really good at what they're doing. And like, they can't be super OP because they have a certain limit in like their skill set. We need to figure that out, of course, but there is a sort of skill ceiling that's just given by the nature of them being a musician. Because at some point, like you can be the best musician in the world, but you can't really exceed like your physical limits in a way. Like you only have 10 fingers, you only have the ability to sing one note for a couple seconds. I don't know how music works, but you know what I mean. Like in order to sing you need to breathe out, right?
Sure.
And you can only breathe out for so long. So you're sort of handicapped just by your physical properties. Is that a word?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Okay. I was doing a bit of editing on the text around, so
I can see that. It's great.
But okay. So, in terms of. So, I mean, if I just kind of like throw out a kind of a half-formed idea, like, this is probably the most simple way I can think of to do it. Like, what about a champion who, like, if we take some of the ideas from Seraphine, like that you use an ability near an ally, and that kind of gives you, like, I think, like, the notes idea is kind of neat. So, like, it gives you a stack of note, like if you use an ability near an ally. But maybe when an ally uses an ability near you, it also gives you a note. And that...
Nice.
So you're kind of encouraged to be amongst your team. So you've got like kind of a spell, the charging spell, I don't want to say spell thief. The one which charges up.
The one which charges up, yeah. Huh?
Oh gosh. I cannot remember.
Are we talking about an item?
Yes.
Do you mean this orb thing?
Yes.
Okay. Spellbinder.
Yes.
Nice.
That's the one. Haha, the quiz is complete. You passed. So yeah, sort of spellbinder kind of effect.
I like that. I think it's cool.
Because then, like, you're encouraged to play with your allies, but then that kind of like that would be a kind of like a sort of a mini game you're playing, a sort of a micro game you're playing that, like, maybe you can expend these notes in some fashion, or like, you know, if we did go down the whole sort of like route that you're building up during a fight, so that you kind of want to be in the fight, you want them to be 5v5 fights, because maybe the spellbinder effect works on enemies as well.
I don't like that.
No?
I think it should just affect, or like it should just come from you and your allies, because you and your allies are a team, a band, if you will.
Okay.
And if you also incorporate the stuff that your enemies will be doing, that's like, imagine you're a garage band, and then people from the outside come in and just randomly start doing things. That's not helping you. That's fucking disruptive. Sorry.
No, okay. Oh, I'm happy. This is a family stream, and now the family's tuned out in droves.
Upbeat.
What about that? So what about just taking that idea and running with it? Maybe enemy casts detract from it.
Okay. So you need to stay in range of your allies, but you can't go in range of your enemies.
Yeah. That would kind of work with that sort of...
That's fun. I like that. Oh, and maybe you can use the Spellbinder things to upgrade your abilities, so you don't level your abilities like any other champion, but you have to use Spellbinder points.
Okay. That sounds very different, but I'm into it. Okay, so it's kind of like... it's a bit like Souls, then. In terms of your upgrading through a long-term kind of thing, rather than it being a sort of a... Because initially I was thinking the idea that it would be something that would take place during a given team fight, but you're talking about something that would take place over the course of the whole game.
I think so, yes. I think also... I mean, we could... Okay, so my idea with this is that the champion has pretty high base power on all of their abilities, so that they have a solid early game, that they don't immediately suck because they can't level up their spells by leveling.
Okay.
And then as they progress through the game, they have this sort of like a little dip in the mid game where they're not really good because they don't have enough stacks to upgrade their abilities yet, and then as they get their upgrades, they get stronger and stronger until they're at max level, I don't know, ability capacity. But the thing that you said about being really strong in a given team fight situation could also come into play by just being one of their abilities. Some sort of like enhancing aura that activates when a lot of people around them are casting abilities.
Okay. Yeah, okay, so I think we could probably, like, cram both of our ideas into this champion. So, okay, so let's just see if I've got a good handle it. So,
come on and cram! Welcome to the Champion Forge.
Oh yeah, maybe that's it. So, so during the game, I'm trying to figure out. So, let's just call it. What are we going to call it? Notes are generated when you use a spell or an ally uses a spell near you.
I don't want to call it notes.
Okay, what should we call it instead then?
I don't know, but notes is like a Seraphine ripoff, and Seraphine herself is already a ripoff.
Oh boy. Well, this is definitely not going to be one of the ones I can show to the
We need more music words. Music words.
music words. Let's search Google for music words. We definitely came well prepared to play.
Cadence.
Uh,
No, I think that's something that Sona does.
yeah,
Bar.
she says adagio summoner, which means
Okay.
slowly in Italian.
Yeah. We could. What about bar? Did you get bars? Because she's
Sure.
spit bars. That could be one of their abilities. I'm already immediately thinking of a lady, but it doesn't have to be.
Okay. So, alright, so you've got bars, and so yeah, it's
Motive. Motive. Motive is way better.
motif.
Yes. It's like yeah. Yes.
So a motif is like a sort of specific part of a song that's used in different ways through the song. So
Yes, and you can sort of modify it a little bit, but it's always recognized as the main motive of the song.
okay,
And I think that could be neat as her dealio.
all right. Well, let's make some more space here. So, all right. Honestly, I'm fine with motif as the name for the thing. Like, I think that's the least important of like that particular things. Like in terms of what it's called.
Okay.
So I'm making sure I'm understanding your idea, so we can try and bang the two ideas together and hopefully make a horrible monstrosity of design. So motif is generated when you use a spell and I use a spell near you. Maybe rather than removing motif, an enemy casting a spell near you locks out your generation for a short time.
Yeah, that's better. So that if they are just in the middle of a team fight, they can't generate more motifs.
Yeah, I like the idea. Like it kind of gives you motivation to move around the team fight in a certain way, and it gives the enemy motivation to try and get up in your business.
Yep. I think that's really good.
Yeah, because so if, okay, nearby. Okay, so we've got a certain amount of motif being generated by this stuff.
You have near twice. Nearby enemies cast near.
Oh, whoops.
Hello.
Well, ahem.
But I think it's a good mechanic. It could work really well.
Yeah, I genuinely think that's like a pretty solid idea. I'm copying and pasting text out of here when we don't need any more. So do not worry, I'm keeping things just out of view, just so we don't end up with so much text on the screen that is too much. Okay, so yeah, I like the idea. So you've got your basic skills, but you can spend motif can be spent presumably at certain breakpoints, like in the same way that Senna gets, when she hits a certain amount of souls, she gets an extra effect. Whereas that's passive for Senna. In this case, it would be when you reach a certain level, you get like a Kha'Zix style upgrade.
More like a Kaisa style upgrade, I think.
Oh yeah. It's
I don't
similar.
think it has to be visual, because like when you say Kha'Zix, I associate it more with the visual upgrade rather than the ability upgrade.
Okay.
I
Oh,
know
yeah.
both things happen at the same time, but like when Kaisa does her thing, she gets like this little swoosh, and then she has like this upgraded ability for the entire time. But it doesn't look any different, like on her model at least.
Okay. Honestly, like the visual stuff, like sure.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, I think that's a neat idea. I think
Cool.
that passive by itself is definitely the kind of thing that could easily be transferred to a bunch of different champions and still work.
Hmm.
But I think it's it's a very directed passive to be like, you're going to want to play this particular way, and I think that's kind of neat.
Yeah.
All right, well, so in terms of like, it sounds like we are sort of moving more towards. We weren't sure if we are actually going to design an actual champion, tonight or not. But it sounds like we're moving more in that kind of direction. So, if you're okay with that idea, do you have any initial thoughts on what kind of thing would be good skill-wise?
You mean like a skill shot and then an AoE and then I don't know, buff? Sort of? For
Yeah.
like the 3 basic skills? Yeah, so we got a skill shot like every other champion, and then an AoE effect, and then a sort of either self-buffing or like AoE buffing effect, maybe?
Okay. So,
I think we need to think about. I think we need to think. Yes. Mm-hmm.
yes.
Right. We gotta think about the weapon or like the music creation tool, because I don't think that using the voice is viable again, since we have Seraphine right now with her whole singing thing. But then there's Sona. She has the Etoile item, which is sort of like a stringy thing. And then there's Bard with his funky trumpet. So what other options are there? I'm thinking triangle.
I mean, I don't know.
Or bongos.
Love it. I'm kind of thinking that maybe if we have a better idea of what the skills are, we'd have a better, like, it's tricky. It's like, on one hand, knowing what the instrument is might help influence what skills we actually come up with in the first place. But on the other hand, knowing what the skills are could also affect what instrument they have. So, well, it sounds like you're feeling like coming up with the instrument first over coming up with skills first and then coming back to what the instrument is specifically.
Try both ways. Like, if you have an idea for a skill, please go ahead and tell me, and then maybe we can derive an instrument from that.
I think the only one which I've really had so far is the one where it's because if we're gonna try and motif as like as a central thing, that maybe one of the skills is based, its strength is based each time you cast it, its strength is based off how much motif you've gained in like the last, I don't know, 10 seconds or so. So you have like the souls, you still have the whole sort of scaling. If if you're playing appropriately during a fight, it's getting stronger.
Yes, that makes sense.
And then, like, again, I don't know if necessarily it needs to have like a different effect when it reaches a certain threshold, but just that maybe it just does two things. Like for instance, like say you've got like a line sort of AoE, sort of a bar kind of thing. And when you first cast it, it just it does a small amount of damage and some amount of healing. And then if you generate a lot of motif, then the healing remains, but the damage becomes larger.
Yes, I think that could be good, because then you're like, as you gain more motif, you're more inclined to use your bar ability to harm enemies and less to heal your allies, because the healing is just so little. But it's good for laning phase, for instance, because you can I guess you can spam it maybe, and then you can use small amounts of healing to keep your AD carry in lane, while also sometimes using that ability to poke.
Yeah, okay, so well, that would fit under the skill shot, I guess?
I think I'd rather have that as an AoE, or maybe the AoE or self buff thing. But the AoE would make more sense, so the W. And then as a skill shot, there should be something that's like really something that you could potentially miss, you know? And that
Alright.
would really be bad if you missed it.
Okay, so if we go and just put that in as Hera temporarily, so they're gonna have, yeah, so they have the bar effect, so it's a moderate heal and small amount of damage with a damage bonus based on how much motif has been generated. I want to say recently, to leave it as vaguely as possible. In last approximately 15 seconds, let's say. So, like, you know, it's in the context of a given team fight. Like maybe there's like a heat sort of mechanic kind of going on there. So you've got a visual representation of how much motif you've been able to generate.
Get really pumped up.
Yeah, pump up those jams.
Kind of like, you know how Azrael has this visual representation of gaining, what's it called? The spell flux?
Oh yes, yeah, he kind of gets twinkles and whatnot.
Yeah, and in that Battle Academia skin, he gets the Super Saiyan.
Oh yeah.
Sort of a little bit.
Yeah, so it could be a rage bar, it could just be a visual thing that she kind of like, sorry, don't even know, we've not even decided gender at this point, but it seems already we're kind of like, it's Sona!
What if it's a yordle? Another
Musical
yordle.
yodel?
A musical yodel. And they could have just a really whack sort of musical instrument that we don't even know what it is yet.
Okay.
It's just, it just does all sorts of things.
Okay, I can dig it.
Nice.
Okay. Gosh, I love having to... there we go. Do that kind of stuff. Alright, so a yodel musician
Yodel.
or some kind. I can dig it. Alright. Yeah, I think that... So, I like as well that the laying down the bar skill gives you a reason to getting closer to the enemies as well.
If it's not a yodel musician, it's gotta be a Freljordian musician. Like one of those sort of battle musicians. I know that they have
Okay.
one, a battle drum lady in Legends of Runeterra. Like she's just walking with the people and she's playing the drums to make people feel like the spirit or whatever.
I like that
Freljord is Freljordel. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I the spelling's never really been my strong suit.
I dig it. Jorvel
Freljord.
Freljord, yeah. Anyway, and I really like
think
that
the
idea.
battle drummer's cool. We'd never had a drummer.
I think it's cool, especially because the Freljordian people are sort of seen as kind of, or like in my mind, I always think of Olaf as like a prime battle unit, who's like really ragey and always wants to murder things.
It's true.
And I feel like that battle drummer, could be just like really jacked and strong, sort of like Braum, and they have this kind of calm demeanor about them, but as they like just get in the heat of the battle, with the sort of rage bar thing, they just get really angry. Like the more they battle, the angrier they get.
Okay. Yeah, I like that idea. I think so. Well, maybe it's possible we could we could extend the whole how much motif have you gained thing to a couple of skills to have that play more into the character of like the more they do their drumming, the more they do their thing, the more like they're. I think I do. So if you're gonna have something like a mechanic which is based around sort of music, drumming is pretty straightforward in terms of for people to understand. Like, how quick are they drumming? Are they drumming really quickly? In which case, that's a lot. Whereas music, it's a little hard to tell sometimes. If is the music more intense than it was before, or like how intense does the music need to be before I should start being worried?
Right. I also think that's. I don't think people would be as mad about that as if it was some intricate sort of music situation. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I like the idea. So, jacked Freljordian battle drummer who starts calm and gets enraged.
Woo!
I think that's a great character concept.
So it's like, with the whole gets enraged, what I was thinking about is that, he uses his drums and his, like, cool battle drumming skills to hype up his people and his allies. Sure. But he accidentally hypes up himself so much more than everybody else.
Yeah.
I like
that. So we could, what we could do is potentially move like the, let's see, hype up your fellows. We could potentially move the whole, extra effect based on motif generated in the last 15 seconds to be part of the passive. That's just, your abilities are enhanced by how much motif you gained in the past short period of time, and that he just generally gets stronger across abilities in different kinds of ways. All right.
So he's a tank basically.
Yes,
he's kind of a tank, but he's also sort of weakened by the fact that he is a tank, since he doesn't generate as much motif as he's tanking a bunch of other people.
Yeah, so maybe that's the thing, like that you build up your kind of rhythm as you're outside of like the main fight, and then you wade in, and then you can get stuck in, and then possibly, I don't know if you kind of fights would ever really run that long, but maybe you then have to come back out again to build up your.
He could be sort of like an avalanche, where he's just on the outskirts building up, and then as he gets stronger and stronger, he goes like into the fight, like he crashes into the fight as this massive tanky boy who has been like buffing himself with all his motif and like the spells of his allies and stuff.
Yeah, I really like that idea. So his abilities are modified. Okay. Increasing based on let's just call it rage for the time being.
Rage.
Yeah, I like this. I think it's a pretty cool idea for a concept. I think conceptually it comes across quite cleanly, but it's also got a fairly unique play pattern. Okay, so yeah, I think the thing is, like, we can have some relatively straightforward abilities that just have it's not that the abilities themselves are necessarily super complicated, it's just that the usage patterns of them are interesting. Like with the laying down a bar thing, it's like it gives you different times you want to use it in different circumstances. So, like, okay, so we've got the hyping up your fellows. Did you have something specific in mind for that?
Also,
my ability name is terrible.
He just starts drumming in a rhythm, and that's where you could put in the Osu mechanics, where you have to sort of hit your stuff at a given moment.
I had. Okay, I really hope you like this idea. But what about the above his, you know, like the Twisted Fate kind of card idea that kind of goes tut, 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 tut. You put that in, and you have to activate the ability each time it hits a certain like part of that sort of rhythm bar to then
Yes.
keep the ability going and sort of amp it up to the next level.
That's cool. And if you break the chain, it just goes back to normal drumming.
Yeah. So, okay, so a meter comes up, and you need to activate the ability on the beat to increase duration and effect.
It could also be a sort of like Hype Up Your Fellows could be more of a passive ability that like you start out with that ability. You cannot skill anything like any of the other things at the first level. You just start out with that. And it always like it keeps going in the background, and whenever you wanna activate it, you just start activating it in like on the beat. Does that make
Okay.
sense? I don't really know if that would work.
Where are you sort of ending up with this? 'Cause
It's just a continuous thing.
also, so
but
they're
you can,
always drumming, but
yes, I think that they like it would only make sense if they would always be drumming because
okay.
they're a battle drummer. That's just their thing. But
No, I'm with you now. I understand kind of where you're going, and yeah, no, I completely agree with it.
they just have this sort of they always have a really small indicator on top of them that always indicates like the beat that their super omega hype up your beans sort of rhythm goes.
What about if we're gonna try and hit the whole drum thing? What about if the drumming effect comes out as an aura that kind of expands out on the as the drums hit? It expands out from them.
Yes, that's nice.
Yeah, so you've got kind of like your passive. So you're not sort of like sort of boom, 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 like is like, or maybe slower than that. Is like the sort of what you get passively, so that when you're kind of concentrating on other things, it doesn't just stop. But yeah, that you can kind of build up. That's a really weird idea in terms of like the amount of commitment it would take for a player to. I suppose you probably wouldn't be keeping up all the time.
It's
Maybe-
really hard to do, but I think there are some people who would just be able to like split their attention basically, so that half of their mind is busy keeping up this extensive rhythm, and the other half is like focusing on the rest of the gameplay.
I mean, from my very limited experience of playing drums, which is Rock Band, like when you get into the playing of the drums, it's really kind of strange experience where you kind of sort of lose sort of sense of reality. But yeah, I think that's a really cool idea. We don't actually know what the aura does yet, but we've got a lot of cool ways of delivering that aura.
It could just be some sort of resistance buff. So maybe they get more healing in the very small area that they have. So like, you know how when Garen gets into a bush, he starts healing faster? I think. Does he actually do that? Or is that like...
Oh no, so it's more that Garen hides in bushes so he can ambush people.
Okay.
But he also hides in bushes because his ability is out of combat. He regens.
And he gets out of combat faster when he gets into a bush, right?
In
Is
so much
that
people
the
don't.
play?
In so much that people can't see him.
Okay, maybe.
It
I
doesn't
don't-
like specifically buff him, but practically speaking, yes.
Yeah, but I like his ability, or like his passive that. The fact that he just regenerates a small amount of health, and it could just be that.
Okay.
And as you expand it, you can then span a wider area and give your allies the opportunity to like move forward or a little bit further away from you for a few seconds. Or you yourself could hide in a bush, in lane, like you know in bot lane where like next to the alcohol thingy, there's this bush. You can stand in there and just drum it to the max, and like I don't know, have your Healy thing increase in size.
Okay. Yeah. Well, to be fair, like I'm thinking about this. Like, I don't actually think it's as long as the drumming thing is not like too frequent. Like, you don't need to be doing like constantly. Like, it's not like you're kind of going boom, 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 boom like the whole time. I think it would need to be like once every 4 beats or something. So you know, it's effectively like if you were using a very short cooldown skill shot ever, which you would just use on cooldown anyway, but you're just doing it slightly to the rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really, really like that idea. And yeah, the aura being regeneration I think works. Cool. Yeah, I'd be excited to play this champion. It seems pretty fun.
Neat. So now we need a skill shot. Maybe he throws one of your drumsticks.
I was thinking the same thing.
But that's so Olaf, though. Olaf is also throwing sticks. Sort of. A little bit.
Let's see. So right now they're sticking around the outside of a fight. They are so a sort of a poke skill shot would sort of make sense.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe something that doesn't necessarily deal a whole lot of damage, but slows. That's also very Olaf.
Yeah, I was thinking that's the big problem. That it's very hard to not like, because the thing is, Olaf is fairly close to this conceptually anyway. So
yeah, because I was thinking of Olaf when thinking of this guy.
Yeah, well, gosh, we've gone from a Sona stealth rework to an Olaf stealth rework. I mean, actually, I don't know. He's not very much like Olaf, really, currently. So right now we've got. So we've got the steady beat increasing. We've got a kind of like a big drum, sort of like both hitting onto drum, which presumably is why it creates sort of a line effect. What other stuff? I've only been in the band with a drummer once, and it was great. Seriously, like it changes his whole sound having a drummer there. I don't know why people treat drummers badly because
I don't know why anyone would treat drummers badly. What? They're so
weird.
cool.
Like, I don't understand it. I didn't understand it at all. It was so strange. And it's like, why are people treating drummers like crap when they're like the most valuable member of the band?
Hey, have you ever heard bass players? Come on, they're pretty cool too.
I'm a bass player, so I agree.
Wow.
I literally picked it up because the band needed a bass. I was like, guess I'm a bass player now.
It's pretty easy, but it also lays great groundwork for the rest of the song to go on top of. Anyway, back to the drummer.
So,
what else can he throw or shoot or I don't know?
Well, let's try and think about what it is it's going to do rather than what it specifically is, because I don't think it's that important.
I think it should be a slow and like very little damage.
Okay.
So that like in the laning phase, you're not really afraid of getting hit by that ability because you're afraid that you're going to die, but because the AD carry could then follow up on the slow target. Like pairing that guy up with a Jhin, for example, would make it way easier to hit the W on a target slowed by that funky skill shot.
What about if the... Okay, how about this? Take the Diana Crescent Strike, have it be like a... So, if you have the Diana Crescent Strike and the Rumble Harpoon have a weird baby...
Okay.
And it's like a double shot kind of thing that it kind of like bangs the side of the drums and sends out like in a sort of an ammo, like a brief ammo system, like a skill shot which curls around to the one side and then a skill shot that curls around to the other side.
So it's like a circle.
Yeah, so it kind of makes a circle.
I like that. I think it's fun. Could be cool.
Okay, that's a 2-shot system that curves Crescent Strike style in 2 different directions. So it's just kind of like a slow slowing on hit. Does it have any effect on your allies?
No. I don't think not all of his abilities need to have an effect on your allies. And that one is really just to sort of help initiate a team fight in that sense, if that makes sense.
Okay. I'm looking at drumming glossary. Let's see.
Yee.
Oh. Beat displacement? That's a good name for an ability.
Yes, that could be the Q, the skill shot. It's not really a displacement, it's more of a slow, but like
Maybe you hit them with the tip of it, then it becomes a
just
knock up. Yes, I was.
No! If they get hit by the tip, they get knocked off. You cannot say that.
Oh my god. This is such a good, clean stream till you turn up, Hammy. Ah.
You said those things. I just
didn't say.
repeated them.
You repeated them, but you made them terrible. Okay. Blast beats are alternating single stroke rolls broken up. I mean, this is totally like the most classic game design thing ever. Being like, I don't actually, play the drums, but I've looked at some words associated with them, and now I'm going to do a horrible job of trying to make something that relates to that.
But wouldn't this blast beat thing be better for the Q? Because it's alternating things of things that do things?
Wait, what was I saying? I forgot.
Blast beat.
Blast beat. Is that what was called that? Oh, blast
I
beats.
don't know, you just... Oh my
Yeah, okay, yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to read things at the same time. Alright, blast beats, yes.
God. Cool.
Yeah, that's fine. That works! That works! Everything's
Nice.
fine!
Cool. No, we don't need anyone
No one's
to be
getting
knocked
knocked
out
up
by
on this
anything.
stream. Oh my gosh.
Do we want to keep it, the other thing laying down a bar?
I don't know, like, that was just the first thing I came up with. Let's look through and see if we can find anything.
We also need to come up with an ultimate.
Yes. Let's see. Crash. Crash is probably, that's sort of symbol crash kind of thing. That could work kind of well.
Let's just think about an ultimate, because I
Okay.
don't think we need to really work the names too much.
Alright, so we've got so far we've got the ability to chuck out a couple of slows, which are sort of curved around, which basically it's just a knockoff of Rumble's harpoons, but just with a different aiming mechanism. We've got a bar that will... Oh, that's right, yes. So for... so it looks like we may... As far as this stuff goes, the modified and how much motif has been generated.
Yep.
Like, are we going to put that in for the Q and E as well, then?
Yeah, I think for the Q, it would just slightly increase his damage.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that's... so, small amount of damage. I guess it's literally the same thing, isn't it? I mean, I don't think that's necessarily actually a bad thing that is the case.
Small amount of damage.
Small.
Small.
So small.
Maybe. Yeah.
There we go.
And then for the E, I don't know. Maybe it adds a movement speed buff. No. Then it becomes Sona again.
It could be that the more rage they have, the more generous the beat detection is.
Yep.
Like, that's... But
Yep.
no, when he gets really overexcited, he's just like, bang, 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 bang.
Yes. He's just the best drummer in the world.
Yeah, so rage... So rage increases target area. Beats target area. So it just makes it easier. On meter.
I think his jokes and taunts and quotes should have something to do with beats. Like
Yes.
like the vegetable.
Oh no! Oh no!
What
Abby,
did you mean?
What have you done? What have you done to us as people? Ugh.
You were excited for it at first.
And then I thought it was going to be a bunch of beating people up puns. I didn't really expect you to be like, I'm also a grocer. Would you
Could be
like my
both.
beats? I mean, I guess you can't be a battle drummer all the time.
Just beat it.
Ugh.
Okay,
No,
I'm a battle drummer by night, and I'm gonna beat you up by day.
I've learned from you, Happy. Niet. No.
No.
No grocer. I refuse.
Okay. No gross.
All right, so yeah, so we've got the blast beats, so sort of a poking effect, but yeah, once you've built up your rage bar, then you're kind of like you're getting more aggressively into people's faces and kind of sacrificing your long-term motive. Yeah, that's the choice you're making, isn't it? You're sacrificing your long-term growth for the ability to use your abilities more aggressively,
Yeah,
which I think is a cool idea. Like that's a cool decision to have to make.
I like it.
So
I also, I think maybe we should refer to it as motif instead of rage, and then pick up something else for the initial motif usage.
okay,
You know, because
sure.
rage, I don't know. I'm not sure if that fits.
That's easy enough to do. All right.
You put bees in everywhere.
Look, I'm good at this. I know what you're saying.
Okay.
All right. Let's just go for beat.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh yeah, I don't even know if motif actually sort of makes sense there, but whatever.
It's just gonna keep it. Whatever.
All right.
whatever.
So yeah, so we've got
Ultimate ability. Let's
Pokey
go.
Pokey, and then runs into fight and Stompy Zombie. We've got like the lane on the bar. I think maybe it's a. I think maybe the lane on the bar is like a delayed line AOE.
Yeah. So it has like you lay it down, and then it has a sort of like a delayed explosion.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, like I mean, I don't think there's actually anything necessarily wrong with having the having there be sort of elements of the other Freljordian champions in terms of how their abilities work.
They're all sort of similar, in a way.
So we've got a lot of sort of two different sort of distance area effects. So I suppose by it being a delayed AoE, it's not at least the same thing, which is my worry with the Q and W being a bit too similar. And then we've got the AoE stuff. So I think it would sort of make sense to me logically going from the abilities that we have right now that you're looking, so you're building up your motif on the outside of a fight and then you're going in, and presumably the ultimate is going to reflect that in some way, that's the sort of engagement pattern.
Yeah, it could just be an avalanche. But you're the avalanche, and you just crash into a team fight like a big mountain of snow.
I worry if that's too similar to a glacial fissure though. Or it's I guess it's a glacial fissure where you are transported to the end of it.
Sort of. I think it might be more similar to Set's ultimate, but you don't take somebody with you, and it's not like you can, like, you're not taking their person and jumping into a different location, but you yourself target a location where you then drop down. So it might be closer to like a combination of Set and the new Pantheon ult, maybe?
Yeah, where you sort of slide along an area.
Yeah. Or it could be like the old Pantheon ult, where you just target an area and then you drop down from the skies.
I kind of like the idea of let's call them Avalanche for now. Of Avalanche like rolling towards an area with the drums for like. Ba-dum.
Yeah. Oh,
drum
and they
roll.
could leave like sort of like. Oh no, that is very Kled. I was thinking about them leaving sort of a trail behind them that speeds up their allies, but like we already have that with the funky Yoda
Actually-
riding a thing.
Okay, so I kind of want to just call it the drum roll because that's a pun.
Yes.
But I actually kind of like the idea of it being like, what about? So if we take that, you're right. We're crossing a lot of territory with previous champions. But what about if it's a short cooldown thing that travels like a shorter distance? That
Sort of like a double dash.
Yeah.
So like distance-wise, double dash.
Yeah, like a sort of a Malphite ult kind of, or maybe a bit shorter than that sort of distance that's on a much shorter cooldown and has a much lesser effect in terms of being like, there's no like big explosion when they get there or something. It's like a pathway that they're creating. Because Glacial Fissure sort of feels like it should be a path that is being created. It only looks like one, but it isn't.
It's like the reverse of a path. It creates an abyss that you don't want to cross. And in that, it's almost like Rumble's ult, but it doesn't deal damage. So I think we could just borrow something like that from some other champion. So yeah, why not? Just make it a Malphite ult, but it should have some sort of extended effect that also works on allies.
So dashes and leaves behind a speed increasing aura. So if we say like it's maybe. So, okay, if it's... I mean, the most straightforward way is that you just have it be a dash and just gets them there but doesn't do anything when they arrive. But just sort of gets them into the middle of something from a situation where they wouldn't normally be in it.
Maybe they get, I don't know, an increase for their beat stacks? But if it's a short cooldown, then that might be very oppressive. Depending on like how short the cooldown is, of course.
Well, what about so this is something which hasn't happened yet. What about a Malphite style ability where instead of doing damage to other people, you gain resistances or shield yourself, depending on how many people you impact with?
I like that. Yes.
Okay, so let's just say gain a shield based on number of enemies pass through or something. And I suppose at that point you're gaining some amount of motif by just going through, like using your abilities anyway.
Yep, that's true.
Maybe it gains a shield and like bonus motif for each enemy hit or something.
Yeah.
So that once you land, you're not like necessarily, because I mean the obvious thing is to have like a slow or a stun at the end target, but maybe they just don't, and that you rely on your. They just don't.
They just don't. No, I don't think that a slow would make sense for this one. It would definitely make sense for a Freljordian champion, but I also think that we have enough slows in just the entirety of Freljord already, so it would be neat to just have this guy charging in recklessly, knowing that he cannot immobilize his enemies straight away.
Yeah.
But he can then use blast beats and.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like I found that as maybe a more interesting idea that rather than being your ultimate is just like a big kind of like plur thing, that's your repositioning tool, and that you're given the tools to then play in this different, like the more aggressive way, if you use it in its kind of most optimal sense. Like maybe it's possible to get like maximum motif by hitting all 5 enemies or something.
Yep.
And then you've got the ability to then turn your regular abilities into more damaging things.
That's the best way to go here.
So short to medium cooldown. What about the idea? Okay, so this is a bit weird. But so one of the problems you always have with a Malphite style ultimate is that you cannot... it's always used as an escape. And that in itself is kind of problematic in that you're giving a champion like a free flash, effectively. I don't know if it's for this champion specifically, but what would you think of the idea of making it so that the drum roll could only be targeted on enemies? That it's got like a fixed length it travels, but you can only cast it when your mouse is over an enemy. Like it's got like a line that comes from you, but then it sort of locks onto the nearest champion who's closest to your cursor. So when
I know
you
what you
cast
mean.
Yeah.
It could be. It could use the same coding, I suppose, that Yasuo has for when enemies are knocked up.
Yeah. What do you think of that for this champion? Like,
I like it.
okay, can
I
only.
think it's neat. And it also, like, while it is sort of an escape tool by being a dash, even if it was used as an escape, it wouldn't be as impactful because you don't get the shield.
Well, I also kind of like the idea that you could use it as an escape as long as you're willing to go through an enemy to do it. Like, and I think that's kind of a neat idea. Because that's
sure.
that allows a lot more agency for the other team to sort of to play around. As like, if you block off Avalanche's escape, then you've always got the possibility he'll just roll out through you. Okay, yeah, I think this is a neat champion.
Whoa! Cool.
Let's bring the text down a bit so we can fit some more stuff in. But all right, cool. So, are we going to keep with the name Avalanche, or do we have anything else?
Avalanche could be his title. So it's like
something the Avalanche.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. So, all right. So, what kind of name are you thinking of? Because I can use random name generator, my favorite thing on the internet.
Pog.
Sure. Name. I guess we're probably looking in sort of Norse kind of stuff, aren't we?
Yep.
So if it's male, well, let's go for it. So, Torvald, Radulf, Tormod, Ask, Bjarn, Hugleiker. It doesn't unfortunately give good pronunciations. Thor, Baggy, Haldor, Gandalf.
It's Baggy the Avalanche.
Baggy. Sindri, which means sparkling. Haldor means Thor's rock. So that kind of works if we wanted the name that sort of makes sort of sense. You don't seem thrilled, so I'll keep going.
Not really, no. It's like, we kind of really go in with, like, names that translate into gods of our world. So, like, you wouldn't name a champion in League of Legends Christian, because Christianity doesn't exist.
Well, Sten means stone. So we could build off something...
Daniel.
Steniel. Staniel. Oh my gosh.
I don't know. Maybe not something typically northern, but more something that also relates to drums and beats and being a drummer.
Let's see. Fortissimo, play the drums very loud. Apparently that's what it means. That's kind of fun, I didn't know that.
Fun. Oh yeah, Fortissimo is just really loud, just in general.
We could do something based off Fortissimo, though, I mean, I know it's not like necessarily a very Freljordian sounding name, but... it does sort of fit thematically.
Right, I need to go back to my music words spreadsheet.
Let's see.
Glossary of useful music terminology.
I think
Thanks!
okay, you're on probably a similar thing. If anyone in the chat has any ideas for names, please do let us know. Percussion the concussion?
That's fun. That sounds cool.
What, calling them percussion?
Percussion the concussion.
Percussion knew they were born to play the drums because their name was literally Percussion.
There's so many words. He could just be called Largo, which is Italian for broad, wide, and slow.
I mean, it's the best we've gotten so far, but we can change it up if someone can suggest anything different.
It's kind of like, you know how an avalanche isn't like, it doesn't look particularly fast until it rolls over you?
What
You
about
know?
tambour, which is French for drum, a drum or drummer?
Huh.
It's pretty
What?
on the nose, but
Yeah, I like it. I think it could also, like, it sounds sort of like it could be from Freljord. Tambour!
yeah, like it's pretty on the nose. But I don't think that's necessarily a terrible thing for like a champion where you're trying to get across the idea of them with their name.
I mean, bard is literally a bard.
Yeah. Okay. Unless someone else comes up with something better, tambour seems alright. Cool. I mean, I kind of feel like we've done a lot of stuff there.
We absolutely did it. Done diddly did it.
Yeah.
Hug.
I've been wanting to get the whole drum beat idea out as a thing for a while, so I'm quite happy to finally have gotten that on record, as it were.
Nice.
Did you want to like do a really quick sketch of what tambour could look like? Maybe we could both make a sketch of what tambour would look like. So we've got quite a lot of space. Alright, live art. It's gonna be amazing.
I feel like I did a pretty good job.
I love yours. I genuinely think you'll be able to make a series of like greeting cards and sort of things like that with that style of art, and people would dig it.
I'll get to that at some point. Maybe I'll make Christmas cards like that.
100% you should.
Yee. Good thing we do have an actual artist who could make tambour reality. Using those two amazingly glorious depictions of what we think tambour would look like.
Truly, this is the sort of things that artists cry out for, honestly.
Masterful.
There we go.
Is he like, is your boy like crouching over his drums like
I
this?
think so. I think he's kind of like...
He's just really, really large, and he has like these tiny drums given by his like sister or something, and he's like...
Alright, so last thing we need is watch... Oh, so let's TF tambour.
Tambour fight tactics.
I think this has got a lot of branding. I like it. So, alright, so what's tambour's ability? What about a weak shield that kind of like that was pulsed out every
Yep.
Yeah.
Every couple seconds, or like
Yeah.
every 2 seconds, so on like a beat.
Yeah. Alright. Traits, weak AoE shield. Shield every few seconds. Gets stronger with levels. Eventually larger, I guess.
Large.
Yeah, I think that would be a really neat idea because, like, then you've got a whole thing of like, I mean, basically, like, that's probably just saying the longer the fight goes, the better. But then you've got positional concerns with him, like how many people he's going to hit with his shield, and how long those people will stay there. Yeah.
I think he should be a 2-cost unit,
Okay.
just for, like, you know, switching it up because all our other units have been 3 or 4 costs.
Sure.
$2.
I like $2 because it's I think people sort of recognize it as this is a cost sort of thing. Okay, and what? So they should probably be. I guess they're probably like a keeper. I think maybe.
Yes, a keeper, and then what is the other thing?
Not a ninja. I know that much. Exactly the kind of believable laugh you want to hear whenever you make a silly joke.
A keeper and glacial. You know, remember from some sets ago, because like this set specifically focuses around skin lines more, and we don't have a skin for Tambor yet. So
That's true.
I think it would be really difficult to implement it anywhere in the current TFT set.
Let's see. I'm looking at my list of traits. It's tricky. So I'm just gonna quick look at TFT Team Builder to see if I can remember anything. Any traits that kind of come to mind. Because you're right, there doesn't seem to be an obvious place to put them.
There was a glacial trait once.
Hmm.
But I don't remember in which set. It might have been the second or the third? No, I think it was the second where Lux was in. Like, the Elementalist Lux.
It could be a... let's see. An Adept, potentially? I think Adept is... In each kind, it's a sort of tertiary trait rather than a...
Yeah, but it's a nice one. No, isn't Yone just Adapt and Exile?
Yes.
So you could have someone who just, like, Adapt as a secondary trait. I think it's okay.
I don't know. I honestly don't know what else you would do. Like, Enlighten's probably the closest I could think of. Or maybe Divine. But yeah, you're right. It would have to be a skin, really. But I think, yeah, in terms of like what they would mechanically do, I think Adept would be okay.
Yep.
I think that might technically be like 2 classes rather than a class and Origin. But whatever. There isn't really...
Cares?
Like, this is a throw-in segment, it's not the main focus.
Right. Okay, cool.
We just need some quotes then.
I want to do quotes right now.
Alright, well, honestly, I think the quotes would just be a bunch of silly drumming puns, so... I don't think anyone's really missing anything out if we don't do them.
Not really, no.
But I think because it's funnier if you do it than I do it. Do you think you could give me... What would Tambor's voice sound like?
Tambor, the Avalanche!
I love it. I
hate it.
I honestly, I want to hire you to do all of the voice acting for every game. Alright, there we go.
No, please.
So it's Tambor the Avalanche.
Tambor, the Avalanche! My voice can't go that low, or as low as I wanted it to be.
It was pretty good. Alright, so there we go. Hour and a half, just short of it. Lovely, lovely. Cool. So nice. Tambor the Avalanche builds up motif, names subject to change very much. Has beat that they can use to upgrade the abilities. We forgot to include what the beat upgrade thing.
Yeah, whatever. Don't matter.
We're out of time. So catch you guys next week. No, not next week. We'll have a week off next week while I'm doing TFT casting. Maybe, I don't know, maybe we can do it on a Wednesday or something. We'll see. But for now, thank you, Happy, for doing an amazing job and also providing the heart and soul of Tambor.
Okay.
You were so deep, your microphone cut out.
Oh my god.
It's like, I don't understand this sound coming out of this person.
It's Tambor! The Avalanche!
The Avalanche! I think we kind of fun, actually.
Oh my god. Okay, let's stop this now before it derails completely.
Alright, so they've got a blast beats thing, which... So they kind of have a rage bar, which is based on how much motif they built up. They build up motif by using abilities, and by having allies use abilities near them. This generation is paused by having enemies to use an ability in close proximity of them. And if they've got a lot of motif, they get extra damage on their abilities. So you've got blast beats, which is a crescent, sort of double crescent strike thing, which is slow with a small amount of damage, which increases on your motif. Laying down a bar, which is kind of like a glacial fissure kind of AoE, but much smaller, which does heal and a small amount of damage, again increasing damage based on motif, though the heal stays the same. The most fun ability, which is the hype drumming, which gives you a small AoE regen aura, which you can expand by hitting the beat. And the more motif you have, the easier it is to hit that beat. And finally, the drum roll, where you roll through an enemy, gaining a shield for doing so, as well as bonus beat and motif. We'll forget that we didn't really do that properly. And yeah, that's it. I think it's a pretty good champion.
Yeah. I like him. He's a good boy.
Yeah, I don't know if honestly we've sort of really hit where we wanted to in terms of like really integrating the music stuff outside of the drumming part.
But that's like, it's just a different sort of musical expression. So it's okay. I think it's okay.
So hopefully down the line we'll come back to this whole music idea with someone who actually knows about music and doesn't have to look it up in a glossary on Google.
Yep, that would be neat.
So hopefully at that point we'll have like a much more expanded idea that's a lot closer sort of thematically. One thing which I did have was there's only like one piece of musical theory which I know, because this guy I was in a band with taught me it. The whole thing of chords having like third and fifths. I thought about having a 5-hit passive that has a break point at 3 hits and 5 hits just for that reason. That you'd have like you hit, so you've got like the basic the bass note, and then you've got like the third note that comes in and it creates an effect, and the fifth note has like an even greater effect.
Oof.
Just as my literally one piece of musical knowledge I have.
Poggers! That's something for next time, though. Until then.
Until then, we'll see you guys next time. Oh, also, if you'd like to see more of Happy Light Sense, Happy, where would people find you?
People will find me on twitch.tv/HappyLightSense, in the mornings from around 10 a.m. European, what's that? Central European time?
Yeah.
Which is 9 British time, which is 1 a.m. California time.
There you go, twitch.tv/HappyLightSense. Do drop Harry a follow, because there's some good stuff, some good vibes.
Vibers.
No matter what you've heard. Down you, Leon. But yeah, so we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time with even more shenanigans, and somewhere down the line with an actual musician, hopefully, who can educate us on how musically illiterate we both are. But yeah, there you go. Tambor!
The Avalanche!